Everybody, and welcome to our normal Thursday evening get together. I hope you're all good, and we've got, as usual, a lot of stuff to get through. The majority of which is going to be about something that happened where I and Adrian live on Monday night, and all the consequences that flow from that, which have made global news. So I think we're going to focus on that one. So I want to welcome Grantonio. I see you there. I see Adrian there. I see Jed. And I think has Paddy joined the our entertainments this evening? I thought I see him. I saw. Yes, he has indeed.
Yeah, I'm being blocked. I know. I'm last to enter. Let the yank in last. But I mean,
Yeah.
what else could we have more important to talk about than the insanity that's going on in Britain right now?
Well, absolutely, Paddy, and that's it. Normally I put in loads of different topics, but I think this topic is so big and it covers so many things, not just the parochial stuff, but the national and the international, that I thought we would stick to that one. Hi, Joel. Good to have you with us this evening. Thank you very much for being here. And as always, I should say, we're going out on all the different platforms. We're on the YouTubes, the Facebooks, the X's, the Rumbles, the Getters, and all of that stuff, all that malarkey. Hello, Daniel. Daniel is leaving.
I need to interrupt for 1 second.
Jesus, that's quick. Why?
I'm sorry. I've just been informed that we're doing this during the opening match of the World Cup.
Yes, we are. In Mexico.
Football is not coming home.
I just watched. What's her name? Salma Hayek or something, whatever she's called. Sort of doing some introduction for it. Yeah. We're not remotely interested.
Wait. Salma Hayek's doing an introduction. Right, I'm out of here, guys. See you
Yeah,
later.
it's too late. It's too late. You've missed it. It's done. It's done. The last I saw,
Oh, damn.
they had that singer. What do you call the Italian?
Well, for herself, by the way.
What's that?
She married well for herself. She married some pharmaceutical boy, a multi-billionaire.
Right. Well, that's, and I think Shakira was part of it as well.
She wasn't going to get too far on her acting skills.
Right. Listen, we're not going to divert into that. Although I see Daniel says here, what's football? Joe Cool says, hello from a damp and dreary Donegal. Aren't you getting global warming up in Donegal? I mean, it's I don't know what it's like for all you guys, but where I am, it's absolutely, it's a cold, grey June. I'm only hoping tomorrow is going to be better, because guess what? Tomorrow I'm going over to Birmingham for the next couple of days. So I've got my armored vest. I've had all the requisite tetanus shots, all that kind of stuff, against plague, sort of the Black Death. So I'm hoping. Any tips for what else should I bring with me to Birmingham? No, right, you're too slow.
Kevlar.
I said that. You pay attention.
I would say if you go in there, you're better off taking 700 million guns with you.
Oh, yeah. That is
I would recommend a hurley bat, David.
Yeah.
I believe they're very handy.
So I believe, Adrian, who knew that a hurley bat would suddenly
for sport.
Now, is that a lacrosse stick, or is hurley a different sport?
Oh, it's a different sport.
An ancient Irish sport, which is like akin to sort of like hockey. And I suppose, in effect, there are elements of lacrosse in it too.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure. I hadn't heard of it until this guy used it properly.
Well, let's start there then, shall we? So let's set this whole thing up when we get into the discussion. So, Monday night, Belfast, in a part of North Belfast, Kinnaird Avenue, just behind the Crumlin Road, just over from Crumlin Road Jail, actually, Adrian, as best as I recall. News came through that, on Tuesday morning, first thing, the BBC informed me that there'd been a knife attack in Belfast, blah, 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 nothing to see, move along. And then all over X came the video of the knife attack. And then we discovered, well, actually, it was an ISIS-style decapitation attempt. That's what it was. And it just blew up massively on Tuesday. My social media just went bonkers on Tuesday, and as Tuesday moved on, we started to see protests, people coming out. Belfast closed down on Tuesday evening. There were protests, fiery but mostly peaceful, as they said about the BLM protests. That went into Wednesday, yesterday, and there's a lot of activity. There was more protests last night, which we just bring that up here for those who can watch. This is a part of actually Belfast I know really well because I canvassed here. This is East Belfast, just off Templemore Avenue. Yeah. And these are houses of multiple occupancy where migrants were being housed. And as you can see, well, they're not in such a good state these today. So that was riots basically and protests on Tuesday night, Wednesday night. As we record this on Thursday night, I'd be very surprised if there's not some activity, certainly protests. And I think this is going to keep going. And that's all because of the fact that a Sudanese migrant came up on the bus from Dublin, tried to cut this guy's head off, and it's just triggered a massive, I don't know what the word would be, tsunami wave of resentment and anger. And I'm not sure that Keir Starmer allows us to feel that, but I think it's only appropriate to feel it. So Adrian, I'm going to come to you first because you're the other local in with me in this one. And tell me about your response when you discovered on Tuesday what was, here's the lovely, friendly PSNI. Look at that, right out of
that image is actually about a mile away from where I live. From last night, one of the main routes in and out of Belfast, just off the motorway. I messaged you on Tuesday morning, and I was just full of rage, full of absolute rage that this had happened so close.
Cold rage
to where I live. Yeah, pure white rage, to be brutally honest with you. As much as this country's had its dark past, and we've seen some of the atrocities that have went on here. Thankfully, that was 30 years ago, which is almost a generation, and we've sort of moved on from that. But to actually see somebody trying to do that on the streets of Belfast was just absolutely horrific. Now, you and I are probably desensitized to violence in a certain aspect because we've seen so much of it through our lives, and some of it's been absolutely brutal. But that is something that will never leave me. And yeah, I was absolutely horrified at what I saw and absolutely full of rage. And when the messages were going about on Tuesday about roads being closed, businesses having to be closed, people being told to wear certain outfits and to go on the streets to be prepared to fight and get arrested. Is it wrong to say I was proud? Probably, but I was. Am I proud of all that's going on? I am. And I know many people out there are condemning us, calling us racist, far-right bigots, this, that, and the other. But I want to read something, and I'm going to change the words slightly. And I'm hoping you will all understand when I read it out. Like, if you can bear with me for a minute. Now, this came from somebody very famous. But it is not enough for me to stand before you and condemn riots. It would be morally irresponsible for me to do that without, at the same time, condemning the contingent, intolerable conditions that exist in our society. These conditions are the things that cause individuals to feel that they have no other alternative than to engage in violent rebellions to get attention. And I must say tonight that a riot is the language of the unheard. That's part of a speech by Martin Luther King. And that's what you're seeing. People are saying it's racist riots. It's not. It's not. It is the unheard expressing their anger and their frustrations because these people are being dumped in their communities. They have had no say. They didn't vote for it in any shape or form. And now we're expected to put up with this kind of behavior where the reality is if you're walking down the street, you could possibly be beheaded. If you're a young woman, you could be sexually attacked. If you're a young boy, you could be raped. And that's the stark reality of our life here now with our uninvited guests.
I think, as I say, absolutely, Adrian. I totally agree. I mean, the thing I think, Grantonio, that shocked us all was that this was a decapitation attempt. Had the guy not been battered by a hurley stick and delayed, he had a kitchen knife. He carried out the attack with a kitchen knife, right? This was going to be another Lee Rigby moment, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. But well, that's interesting. Lee Rigby. Nobody hit the streets when Lee Rigby happened. Nobody hit the streets when that little girl, Emma Jones, I think her name was, in Bolton, was, well, decapitated. Tiny little girl. But nobody knows about this. Nobody hit the streets in Glasgow when Chris Donald was, I think he had his eyes gouged out. I think he was burnt alive. And Adrian said this a couple of years ago. I'll never forget this. We were talking about do you remember was it Dublin, wherever in the Republic of Ireland, was it the 2 girls were slashed and another woman, and Adrian was like, what is it going to take the people, to do something about this? I was like, what is going to be the moment? I don't know what's so special about this. I remember when we talked about Charlie Kirk, and you had the position that people shouldn't be showing the video, which I get that. I wonder if actually seeing that footage, and it is grim, we've all seen it, I think we've all seen it, it's grim. I wonder if that's the kind of thing that maybe people should be seeing this kind of footage. I don't like the idea, but
yeah.
Adrian was talking about, like, did he say he was proud? And forgive me if I'm putting words in your mouth, Adrian.
Yeah.
I think you should be. When the George Floyd riots happened, there was 30-odd innocent people killed by rampant leftists. I don't think anybody was killed last night, from what I could see, unless someone's going to correct me.
No.
But no, the footage is grim. And Jed said this before. It was a matter of timing. That something's going to happen. I did think
synchronicity.
Synchronicity. The Police. It's a good album. That I did think it was going to spread to this to England and Scotland. And I'm making a serious point. It might sound like I'm being facetious. I'm actually making a serious point. It has been miserable. And I notice when riots happen, the rain tends to disperse people and stop these things. So I wonder if that's got something to do with why it hasn't spread.
Well, I mean, Jed, again, obviously you're well aware of this story. And again, what was your thoughts when you first heard about the fact that a migrant had tried to take off a guy's head and almost succeeded?
To be honest, I weren't surprised.
Mm-hmm.
I weren't surprised, and that's a sad admittance of the way we are, where we are, what we are currently. And it is sad. It is sad that this, they keep talking about a lone wolf, isolated instances and stuff like that. But I think what actually infuriated me more was the response. The response by the media and the political classes. Mm-hmm. This video shouldn't be shown. Why? Because it shows that the multicultural society that they're forcing upon us is wrong. It is dangerous. It is killing people. And to admit that whole plan for the last 30, 40 years, since Thatcher, has been utterly failed. And it's failed dramatically time after time after time after time. Yet there were more outrage over the video being online than they were of the act itself and what caused that act. Because none of them can admit to themselves ever, none of the left-wing media, none of the left-wing politicians, or even right-wing, Tories are left light, aren't they? Cannot admit to themselves that this whole plan, this whole multicultural plan is just in tatters. It's been said tonight, nobody voted for it, nobody wanted it, it's imposed on us. And now, not only is it being imposed on us, we're being told we shouldn't be able to see what really is going on, and we should have bans on social media to stop us talking about what really is going on.
Yeah,
this is all Elon's fault.
But apparently Elon Musk, Rupert Lowe, Tommy Robinson, and general far-right extremists Farage are responsible for a Sudanese savage trying to take off a guy's head. Yeah, apparently that. Right, Paddy.
then devil's advocate, the guy Matthew, I can't pronounce his name in Irish. He's obviously racist because he was using a weapon to try and attack somebody from a ethnic minority. Do you see how this can be spun?
Yeah, well,
I am being facetious with that comment, but it's how they're turning it on us.
Well, we'll get. Don't worry, we've got loads of time to get through all this. But Paddy, I want to come to you, and then I've got a clip I want to play everybody. Paddy, again, your reaction to what you've seen to what you saw happening in Belfast on Monday night.
I haven't been as horrified and aghast since the Troubles. From the actions of my fellow Irish Catholics, and to see them now actually, the Sinn Féin / IRA defending the migrant is just disgusting. But that aside, like you said, somebody in the background talking. This guy was I want to know why this guy was seeking asylum. Number one, he was a prominent member of the police force in Sudan, and he comes from a prominent family. So why did he need to seek refuge in Great Britain? And number two, the guy he attacked apparently helped him move into his residence in the days leading up to this.
That's right. Yep, exactly. The whole thing is mad. So I want to then play you a clip which kind of infuriates, but it also reveals. So this happened on Monday. In Tuesday in the House of Commons, a guy called Jim Allister, who's a friend of mine, and he and I were in the same political party for a while.
I remember Jimmy.
Jim stood up in the Commons and he asked a question of the Northern Ireland Secretary of State, Hilary Benn, Tony Benn's son, eldest son. And what Jim basically asked was, how has this alien culture how's this gotten into Northern Ireland? Words to that effect. And then Hilary Benn went on LBC with Nick Ferrari. Now, Jed's going to play the clip now, and it's really worth listening to this. Remember, alien culture. Play the clip, Jed.
Is beheading an alien culture?
Well, look, we need to let the criminal justice process...
No, I've just said I've moved you globally. Mr. Benn, I have moved you away from that. I've specifically said that. We're not talking about the United Kingdom. Globally, is beheading an alien culture?
Well, seeking to behead an individual is absolutely abhorrent.
And is it an alien culture?
I think from all countries would condemn it. The point I was trying to make...
So it is an alien culture, Mr. Benn?
Hang on. The point I was making in the House of Commons, and the reason I picked up on the point, the wording alien culture, is that what is that saying about, say, people who come from a particular country in another part of the world? Because perhaps we'd like to contrast one individual who appears to have come from Sudan, originally engaged in this terrible...
Well, I've tried not to speak about that because I want to talk more globally, sir. Is it, I'll ask for the fourth time, is beheading an alien culture, Mr. Benn?
It is abhorrent, and of course it is. It's a terrible thing to do.
It is or it is not?
It is alien to all right-thinking people.
So
disgusting.
Okay, over to you. I'll say nothing. Grantono, you go first.
No, just disgusting. He knows that it's an alien culture. He's well aware of that. He had a guy in Parliament for saying your friend Jim.
Yeah, Jim.
Give me Jim McAllister.
Jim Allister. Yeah.
But we all know it's an alien culture. We all know it. That media class is so detached. Well, no, actually, no. It's not that they live in a bubble and they don't understand. I think they do. I think Hilary Benn does understand that this is an alien culture that's being imported. That this is a dangerous alien culture that's being imported. I think they all do, actually. I think the likes of her that's, what's her name? Head of Northern Ireland.
Michelle O'Neill.
I think she knows. I don't think they're ignorant to the fact that they're importing a bunch of head decapitators. Head decapitators, that's a tautology. Decapitators for an alien culture that's doing damage, that's raping our children, that's stabbing our children, that's decapitating vulnerable men with all kinds of impairments. I think they know. I don't think Sir Keir Starmer's unaware. That's how psychopathic this class of people is. Genuinely. Go on, David.
We'll explore that more. Adrian, what do you think? Why did Hilary Benn not say just straight, this is an alien culture?
Because he can't. Once he says that, the genie is out of the bottle. The political class have then admitted defeat, and then the country then has a weapon to beat them with, if you excuse the language. Do you understand what I mean? If he says, yes, it is alien to our culture, then everybody would just round on them. Well, then why are you letting them in here and there? Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions. Why are you bringing them into the country if that's the case? So he can't. He can't admit it.
I'm not sure, Adrian, that he can't. I think he doesn't want to. I think there's an important distinction there.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. He can't admit to it, because once he does, then that is an enormous stick that everybody will use to beat the government. Anytime something happens like this is not a one-off. There will be many more of these instances in the future. So whether it's beheadings, stabbings, rapes of women.
It's a mathematical certainty, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. So anytime something happens, this clip will come back to haunt him if he admits it's an alien culture. That's why.
So we can't. Jed, I mean, I'm sure you'd agree with Adrian and Grantonio. He knows it's an alien culture, but there's that important Labour voting demographic that I don't think he wants to offend.
I think it's more than that. I think it's the paymasters that he doesn't want to offend. You look at anybody that stands above the parapet to counteract the globalist narrative, the left-wing narrative. Look what happens to them. So I think he knows exactly what it is, but he can't admit it because he wants to stay in the club. He wants to be in that left-wing club. He wants to be that politician, and he doesn't want to be ostracized and picked out and finger pointed and all the other ridicules that would happen. And I think there's a lot of people in politics who are like that. A lot of people in the media, they know what's wrong. They can see what's wrong, but they just want to stay on the gravy train. Yeah.
Well, the thing, Paddy, again, I mean, you heard that clip there. I mean, you heard the evasions, the absolute reluctance to say it.
The truth to the press and the politicians on both sides of the pond is kryptonite. They can't say that. They know the truth. They know damn well what's going on, and they know damn well the clash of the cultures and they know what they've done and what they're continuing to do. They cannot tell us the truth about anything. That's why, as I said, our news is corrupt. Our politicians are corrupt. People like us are, and we're not. We don't have the intelligence reports that these people have, and we can tell the truth and are trying to say it, and they're trying to lock you people up for saying it.
Well, talking of luck, we're going to get to that bit as well. So I just want to go through this sequentially. So that clip, the clip that's a response to happened on Tuesday afternoon in the House of Commons. Then we got to Tuesday tea time, and Tuesday tea time, Belfast closed down. Not just Belfast, but pretty much every major town in Northern Ireland. Every businesses were closed at 5 o'clock. In fact, Belfast was cleared out at lunchtime. I've got family members who work in Belfast. They were told to go home by 12:30, 1 o'clock on Tuesday. And then what you saw, and I'm sure you've all seen it in the news, on Tuesday evening, it started to get lively. Groups of people gathered. They weren't happy. They were angry at what had happened on the Monday night. And as is always the way, when you get groups of people on the street, there's always going to be a minority who will be, fiery, but maybe not totally peaceful. And that's what we saw. And we woke up then on Wednesday morning to Keir Starmer telling everyone to stay calm. And furthermore, anybody out rioting is going to find themselves in severe trouble. So this is I'll put it to you guys, this is a repeat of what we saw back in end of July 2024, when the little girls were stabbed by the second generation Rwandan migrant in Southport. And Starmer's at it again. Grantonio.
Yeah.
The same thing. He's more annoyed about the fact that people were protesting against the bloody thing than the actual thing that happened, which drives me insane. And I suspect millions of people like me, Grantonio.
Oh yeah, well, I kind of wanted to echo what Jed was saying earlier about actually not being surprised by any of this. I mean, has any of this played out in a way that is different to anything that's happened before? I mean, alien comes into the country, enacts an act of barbary towards an innocent person or a child or whatever. Videos circulate on social media. The media don't report it until social media, like X, decide to amplify it. And then you have the chattering class, the media, the politicians, the "have I got news for you" type people, just more concerned about nasty words or something that Rupert Lowe has said or Elon Musk said something. And somebody, who was it? It was a journalist asking Richard Tice, did you see this yesterday? Does Nigel Farage have, bear any responsibility for what happened in was it Belfast or was it Novak? I don't know. It's just so predictable. And very quickly, I do wonder if the difference with this one is we have the footage. We never had footage of the three girls at the Taylor Swift concert. We never had footage of Lee Rigby having his head chopped off. This one we can see, and I do think that's the power of the visual medium.
Well, just Adrian, just before you come in, actually, Grantonio, we did have footage of the Henry Novak situation, and that did cause
yes.
a real stir. So I think you have a really good point there. When you just see things written down, well, that's one thing. But when you actually see, when we saw the video of Henry Novak dying, right, that caused great conflict. Although that seems to have quietened down, which annoys me.
Do you remember when? Do you remember when Charlie Kirk was shot? We all saw that. And I remember a few years ago when David Amos, I think his name was, again,
the Victoria MP.
stabbed. Yep. And you and Jed did a wee podcast. I wasn't coming on at that time. I was just listening to it. And it was pretty grim. But there was some... I mean, what's the difference between...
what was grim? Our podcast or the topic?
Yeah. Just what? Okay, a conservative politician being stabbed to death, we never saw. And you discussed it, and it was interesting. But when Charlie Kirk was shot and we saw that was 2 podcasts worth of us being very somber. And again, with the footage of this gentleman getting his eyes gouged out, it's going to take over tonight with Novak last week. It was a whole podcast, David Vance podcast.
It was.
I'm just sort of just repeating myself now. Sorry, David.
Okay, Adrian, you come on in. I mean,
so the reason why they have to blame Farage and Elon Musk is the reality is the Conservatives are guilty because they are the ones that allowed the open borders, and the REC border and all this carry on. And then Labour are guilty too. So there's no political football to score points with here. So they have to deflect and pass it on to someone else, i.e. the easiest targets are, it's Elon Musk's fault, it's Tommy Robinson's fault, it's Farage's fault, because they can't look inward at themselves and realise they are the problem. Now, on the unrest in the streets, it's terrible to see public resources being destroyed. The police are in the middle. The police do not make the law. The police are here to uphold the law. But it's the politicians that make the law. And it's the politicians that should be facing the ire of the protests. We should be at their constituency offices protesting there. So whether you're an MLA, an MP, an MEP, the protest should be there and the anger should be directed at them because they are the ones that have allowed this to happen and they are the ones with the power to change it. But unfortunately, they have no will to change it. And this is why if protests are ramped up outside their offices, they will soon find the will to change.
Yeah, I mean, Jed, what do you reckon?
I just agree with Adrian. I'm just fed up of it. I'm just fed up of all of it. I'm fed up of how this is imposed on us. These sort of things, and the politicians just don't listen. They can't listen. They lose the jobs. They'll lose the pay. They'll lose all the. Well, it's not so much the pay, is it? It's the expenses that they'll lose. The 200, 300, 400,000 pound expenses. I just don't know how some people can have those sort of expenses. But I'm fed up of it all. But what can we do? All we can do, and I've said before, is for whatever you think, is let's try a right-wing government in the form of reform for now. And you're going to say, no, but there's all this and all that and all the other. We have to have a stepping stone. We can't go from the far left that we've had for decades to a far right government. We just can't do that. There has to be some bridge between those two. So we just have to vote these morons out in power that allow this to happen.
So how many people, Jed, between now and then would be acceptable in terms of having their throats cut or whatever, in your opinion?
None, David. This is my point. There is none. Yeah. So what do we do? I don't know what we do because we've imported them already.
Well, see, I would say I know exactly what we do. We do exactly what's happening in Northern Ireland, which the political class are tut-tutting and clutching their pearls about. Oh, it's dreadful what they're doing. Listen, as I say, I know exactly where some of these houses have been burnt, right? And you've got little working class streets in East Belfast. Adrian, you'll be familiar with these. And that's where, way back, 100 years ago, Harland and Wolff employed thousands of people in those little streets, just close to the shipyard. Harland and Wolff's more or less gone, but the streets remain. Those streets were full of local people who have lived there for generations. Now they're not. Now they're cheek by jowl with Somalians, with Nigerians, with Eritreans, and they're not going to put up with it. And the way you don't put up with it is not something people in that polite society wants to talk about. But I think, well, Paddy, what do you think? I mean, I'm all for people vigorously protesting as long as it's peaceful, of course. Paddy.
You have to do something to shut down your government, and it should be peaceful. Should always be peaceful. But you need the government needs to come to a complete halt over this issue. You've got the Nowak incident, and followed up by this is the icing on the cake. If you have anything, I saw a very unique picture today. I don't know if you retweeted it, David, or someone else from your side of the pond did, but it was a young man standing in the streets of I guess Belfast with 5 armored vehicles in front of him, pointing and I all I could think of was Tiananmen Square, because
exactly,
that's what Britain has become. Your government has become China.
Absolutely agree with you. And when I posted that photo, Paddy, I thought it reminded me of exactly Tiananmen Square as well. One lone guy and an absolute range of army Land Rovers, water cannons, all facing one guy. And I mean, here's the thing, Grantonio. I see all this right now as we're talking. There's a massive military operation across all of Northern Ireland to try and keep this down, right? And you might say, well, if that stops the violence, fine. Okay, why couldn't they do the same to stop the illegal migrants coming here in the first place? That's my problem.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be consistent.
But we know the answer.
Well, it's rhetorical, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what is it? Tell us the answer.
Well, yeah, they weren't trying to stop the illegal migrants. They want the illegal migrants. I used to think the Kalergi plan was a conspiracy theory. I'm not sure if I do anymore. Just a couple of things. You posted something. I don't know if anybody knows this. Uncle David posted something earlier. I think it was a gentleman attacking the police and running away from them. And the soundtrack that somebody had put over it was Vangelis, Chariots of Fire.
Chariots of Fire, yeah.
Glorious. And the other point I was going to make, I had a fascinating conversation with Adrian last night. I'm watching the footage and I'm getting emotional. We're all getting emotional. And Adrian was just telling me about a little bit of the history of Northern Ireland and how they do things, how you guys do things in Northern Ireland. Yeah, that's the footage. That is absolutely brilliant. Just imagine Vangelis Chariots of Fire playing over that.
Actually, sorry, Grant, just on that side, Jed's got it on screen.
Yeah.
And
Benny Hill music would have been better for that, to be honest.
Some people have said that. But actually, I actually was in, this is Portadown, and I was in Portadown. I did a live stream.
You were the guy running away from them.
No, if I could move that fast at this age, I would be so.
I was going to say, man, what are you taking? I want to follow your diet. You can run like that.
But that was, I think that was a viral video. It was brilliant. I actually think the Chariots of Fire kind of worked pretty well.
Yeah.
But the police were so pathetic. I don't know what the young lad did. As I said, when I stood at that spot today, and I mean, there's a whole serious issue about Portadown as well, because Portadown is a rural town. I went to school in it. I lived in it. I know Portadown, and Portadown's changed out of all recognition. You know,
Sorry, David.
Loads of migrants. As I was doing my wee live stream this afternoon, there were 6 African gentlemen about 20 feet away from me when I was doing it, in the middle of the town. You know, so Portadown is just emblematic. Which town does it not apply to?
Can I just get my point in that I was going to make?
Sure, go ahead.
Because it's sort of floating in my head, and I'll hate myself if I forget it. The conversation I was having with Adrian last night about how organized and sophisticated you guys are. I'm not implicating you or Adrian in what was going on, but I was just thinking, how long is it going to be before this is more than organized? I'm trying to articulate this. Formalized. How long is it before an organization is formed with a name? And I've just been reading a wee book about the Troubles and like the IRA and like the green book that they're all given and certain rules and codes that they all have to follow. I'm not comparing these people to the Irish Republican Army. You guys who are complaining about innocent people being beheaded or having their eyes gouged out, that's a very legitimate thing to riot about in my estimation. But what happens when, and it's surely it's a matter of time before, I mean, like, do you remember the English Defence League? That's died a death. Something like that is going to happen. Would you not agree? It seems almost certain.
A couple of things there, Grant Antonio, right? So these protests are all taken in predominantly loyalist areas. Even though the man that was attacked was in a nationalist Catholic area, it's the loyalists. And there will be loyalist paramilitaries who are in the background orchestrating all this. Let's not be daft. These are not just spontaneous. Okay?
No, it's not organic in that sense.
When you say, Grant Antonio, we're a different breed. To be honest, this has been bred into some of us from we were a young age. Okay, if you go back and look at TV footage from the Troubles,
breed. I just want to get that in. Like, you do things differently, or whatever the phrase you used was. But carry on, Adrian.
It's bred into us. So if you go back and look at the TV footage from the Troubles from the 70s and the 80s, you will see young children of 8, 9, 10 standing firing bricks, bottles at the police and army at that age. That doesn't leave people, and that is actually passed down through the generations. And again, that might sound horrible, it might sound blasé, but it's how we've been here for a long, long time, and it's how our various societies have taught us to be. And
Adrian, to my point,
no, look, Jed will testify
about how long is it before an organization is formed with a name, with rules, with codes. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, look, it may well be. It may well be in the process now. I don't know. But like a lot of people online are saying, we need to look at Belfast, look at what they're doing. They're giving out orders, leave your phones at home, wear black, be prepared to fight, be prepared to be arrested. And
that's the sort of military level organization that I'm talking about.
Because again, this is being primarily organized by the loyalist paramilitaries. So the place last night that you all saw on TV, Glengormley, that's literally a mile from where I live. And that will be predominantly loyalist paramilitaries that are orchestrating all that in the background. And those guys spent years fighting.
Can I ask you something, Adrian? I was watching the footage last night before it went dark, and it must have been about, 8 o'clock in the evening. And I noticed from the helicopter footage on Sky that there were pockets of, say crossroads around Belfast where people had started fires in the middle of the road.
Mhm.
And what's the reasoning for that? Is that like a sort of call sign for people? Do you
No,
know?
it's to block the road to stop the police getting up it.
Right. That's it. Okay.
You see, I think.
But that was very organised in itself. I'd clock.
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course it is. Yeah, Adrian's right. By the way, this is structured. It is structured, and it's structured because right across Northern Ireland, the paramilitary structures have stayed intact. But the weird thing about this one is, and Adrian, you're dead right. All these protests are not 100%, but 90+% anyway, loyalist, unionist areas, 90%. Where are the Irish nationalists? Where are the Republicans?
David,
Where are they?
There was one thing that actually really made me smile last night. I don't know if any of you watched GB News, but I saw this man, and he was from Ardoyne, and he travelled all the way up to Glengormley, standing shoulder to shoulder with the loyalists, and said he was from Ardoyne, he was brought up to hate Protestants, blah, 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 went through the whole spiel, but said he wasn't there for that purpose. He was there because he wanted to protect his women, his children, and he was happy to be standing there. And he was actually quite proud that the two communities were able to put differences beside each other and stand side by side to fight against this. And that was something that has been overlooked by all the news channels.
Exactly. It's our friend Salty Republican Rocker saying, when fellow Catholics and Protestants unite for the common cause. And it's true that there have been Catholics and Protestants. The difficulty for many Catholics is in the areas where they tend to live, Sinn Féin are dominant. And I think, euphemistically, the lads have a word and say, don't you be going out. Because we've seen, for example, in the area where this happened, which is North Belfast, the MP for North Belfast is a guy called John Finucane. And John Finucane, not so long ago, was boasting on social media about bringing more migrants into North Belfast. Do you know what I mean? So Sinn Féin, and Paddy on this one, we talked over the years plenty about Sinn Féin. But in this one, you've got Sinn Féin basically favouring open borders, unlimited, uncontrolled immigration. And then it's in their area where the guy gets his eye gouged out and almost his neck severed.
It's nice to see the political wing betray the militant wing. When it comes to Sinn Féin and the IRA, because it's the same thing. And I'm sorry, it's like I'm torn here. In one sense, I understand the outrage. I understood the outrage of the IRA, but I'm, because I am Irish Catholic. But I condemn the IRA. I condemn Sinn Féin. And me, they're the Gazans of the Western world. And I've paid for that dearly for 20 years fighting with people on a tangled web. But this is, you have to have these people expelled. You have to apply the pressure. You cannot use bombs. You cannot use fire. You cannot use violence. I mean, venting a riot here or there is inevitable, but you cannot use violence as a tool of politics. I'm sorry. Unless you're going to declare full war. And like I said, because I had somebody, the Americans were started, but we declared war. We declared war. And we fought till the end. The IRA never, they were terrorists. Their children were raised as same as Gaza raises their children. And they're still doing it. I saw a film today of them recruiting little girls today into Hamas. And, violence is not the answer, but this has to be brought to an end in Britain, or you've lost your country. You've lost Ireland. You've lost Northern Ireland. You've lost all of Britain, Scotland, Wales, and Great Britain itself.
The rest of the UK is going to have to man up and follow the example of Northern Ireland. Yeah,
that was my point. I was just about to come in. You've kind of echoed exactly what I was about to say. Or you've preempted what I was going to say. I should say.
Sorry.
I'm very articulate of a Thursday night. That's a very important distinction that Adrian was articulating to me last night about the way things are done in Northern Ireland historically and the way things are done in England and Scotland and Wales. The it's such an important distinction, because if there are what you might call groups, organized gangs, paramilitaries in England, it's not the white people. It's the people who have weapons in the mosques. They're the ones who have their own special martial arts groups. They're the ones that are far more loyal to their cause. They're the ones that are far more organized. And I just don't think us non-Muslims are organized in that way.
Grant, Tony, I watched a video of people going on a bit of a rampage in England the other day, and some of them were walking down the streets with a tin of beer in their hand, just clothes on them. They didn't have their face covered, anything.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
One guy put it out quite well. He said, England, it's don't do that, you'll go to prison. Where Northern Ireland, it was mask up, get ready to fight, be prepared to go to prison. And that's the difference in the mentality. And again, that's just because of the history that we have here. So the peace process is 28 years. So that's one generation. We still have 2 generations of people alive here who remember what both sides went through and what both sides done and what they had to do to get their point across. Where England has never had that kind of battle, that kind of struggle.
But Tommy Robinson tried to instigate his own English Defence League about 20 odd years ago, and that seemed to die a death.
Because of the power of the British state. James Jameson says, remember, and you're right, James, Glasgow was out on the streets, and Edinburgh too. I didn't see the Edinburgh stuff, James, but I definitely saw Glasgow. But then don't forget, Glasgow, Scottish and Northern Irish, we're not that different really. And so I was pleased to see that. I would have liked to have seen, Jed, much more resistance in England. I mean, when we got to Henry Novak, they went out and protested for 2 days and then they all went home. What does that achieve, Jed, apart from short-term release of tension?
But that's it. But I do think the people that need to protest are the people that can't protest. They are the people that have those jobs, that can't afford to be arrested, can't afford to be, shown on TV, etc. But there's, if you think back to the race riots back in the 80s, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right, Jed. Yeah.
Yeah, when Tottenham burned for days, for weeks. And I mean, what did that really achieve? Now, the riots are the everyman's way of getting their voice heard when they're not being listened to.
Well,
I think we've been socially conditioned not to be listened to either over the past 30, 40 years of everything being left wing, everything being kissy cuddly and this is my pronouns crap and whatever it might be, and this is that we got to welcome refugees. How many times have we seen every single politician holding a sign? And I'm just scrolling through your feed right now because I know there's a nice collage of useful idiots doing exactly the same on your feed, David. These are the people that never take these people in. These are the people that impose it on people like you and me. Here we go. I'll bring this on screen as I speak.
Yeah. Every one of these that you're about to show, they're all guilty. Look at them.
Yeah, exactly. But they don't have them in their street. They don't have them in the house next to them. They don't have them in the cocktail parties. They're not going into the shops that they're going, stealing pies and stealing makeup and stealing drugs. And drink and stuff off the counters, are they? Like our Tesco's or our Asda Express or whatever it might be. I know that's Tesco Express and whatever the Asda version.
But you're Jed, but you're so right, and this is the point. You see, my wife and I were talking about this earlier, and we were saying, as you guys know, I live out in the country. My neighbours are cows, right?
Who are?
And as far as I know, they're not migrant cows, although there are black and brown ones. But anyway, there are cows. And so we're a bit insulated from some of this. I went into Portadown earlier. All of a sudden, you're not insulated from it. And if you live in those streets in Belfast and you've got a Somali moved in by government next door, what the hell are you supposed to do? I mean, Jed, how would you feel if you had a Somalian on one side and a Sudanese on the other, and they'd just been put there, they didn't work, but now they're your neighbours. How do you what are you supposed
Culturally
to do?
enriched.
I would be ordering bacon sandwiches by the dozen load to them from
I'd
Just
be
Eat.
culturally enriched, David. Of course I would. Why not? Why wouldn't I be?
I
Because I've been
know.
told that's how I should behave. You know, everybody's equal. All cultures are equal, remember?
No, British culture is superior to any other culture in Britain. So, you're
Oh,
being...
see, David, you're a bigot. You're a bigot.
And
You can't tell that they're alien cultures. I mean, I know we started with Hilary Benn with that.
I know. Yeah.
How dare you?
So I was watching BBC earlier and they were interviewing a Belfast father. The guy was from Nigeria. Okay. Then they started interviewing other people, Ugandan student nurses. They interviewed one guy from Belfast. They weren't actually interested in the one person who lived here, grew up here, what his thoughts and feelings were on this. They were more concerned about the non-natives and how they were feeling.
But Adrian, there is a little story, and I don't know, Jed, if you'll be able to see it in my stream, but as all this stuff was going on, right, and we all saw I saw some of the horrible video. I didn't watch all of it because I think he maybe tried to eat one of the eyes, by the way. But then in a place called Dungannon, which is a town a few miles away from Portadown, where I was this afternoon, there was an African lady who has some sort of hair braiding business. And she thought the right thing to do, I think Jed's going to find it there, she decided to go onto the street in front of her so-called shop and just for lols, yes, Jed, there's a couple of her, that's one of her, there's another one of her, Jed, where she actually play acts the...
Well, I'll bring this up and then I'll have a look for the others.
Yeah,
David, while you speak.
This delightful lady, I think, this is it, Jed. Look, if you're watching this, I choose my words carefully, individual is having a laugh at pretending that the guy's being stabbed.
Where's
There
the
she
water
is.
cannon?
There she
That's
is. Oh,
where
no,
you need a water cannon.
Hey, Paddy, water cannon doesn't cut it. The good thing is the police have arrested her. So that well done to the police for doing that. But again, I put it to you guys, what hell value does that individual I've just shown you on screen, what does she bring to this country, to the United Kingdom? Anyone?
Apparently she does a good eyebrow weave.
The life out of the country. She sucks the life, and that's the idea. She sucks everything out of this country. So we, the indigenous, will give up and go away.
Yeah, one of the good things about this podcast is, although the topics get angry, I do enjoy the wit. I enjoyed your one-liner there, Adrian. She's very good at hair braiding. But I mean, seriously, as James Jameson says, well, like they bring no value. And then there's a guy who I used back in the day when the BBC had me on. I used to have engagement with the head of Amnesty International for Northern Ireland, a guy called Patrick Corrigan, absolutely vile individual. And he was very keen on the Al-Qaeda crowd and all that and awful stuff. But he came out today, I'll go to you for this one, Adrian, first. He came out and said today, quote, Northern Ireland doesn't have an immigration problem. Northern Ireland has a racist problem. And with all due respect, that's a load of crap. Adrian.
100%. Look, we had a problem with our own bloody neighbours, even though they were white, because they believed in a different version of Christianity. So, right, they're calling us now. When anyone mentions the fact that this attacker was Sudanese, it's basically you're being called a racist for mentioning it. But then it's also race baiting when you label an entire community, unionists, more racist for standing up to this. The hypocrisy out of these people is absolutely huge. Are we racist? No, we're not, because during the Troubles, we had a large Indian community and a Chinese community. They never got any trouble, any hassle from anybody. Why? Because they came here, they integrated, they opened restaurants, they opened businesses, they went about their normal life and they fitted into society. But unfortunately, these people are not. It's got to the point now where young girls cannot walk through Belfast city centre without getting harassed. We know some girls have been sexually assaulted. We've seen a guy practically get his bloody head cut off in the middle of the street. Mm-hmm. No matter what part of society you come from, that is not acceptable to live in. Nobody wants to live like that. We didn't live like that before, and we certainly don't want to change it. I do not want my daughter or her children to have to grow up in that environment. So if needs be, this is what we will do. And look, see if it sends the message to the rest of them, Northern Ireland's not a safe place, don't go. Brilliant.
Actually, that's what's happening. Don't know if you've seen this. There's footage from Belfast and I think a couple of other towns where migrants are sadly on the move out, and which actually, Adrian, is a repeat of what happened in Ballymena over a year ago.
Look, the good thing about the Troubles was it did keep them away. But now we've got the peace process and open borders to come in. And again, look, our anger should also be at the landlords who are changing these houses into HMOs and putting them in. The anger should be at the estate agents, allowing them to change the demographic of these communities. The anger should be at the politicians.
Great, totally agree. I mean, Grantonio, just on that, I mean, you know, as I say, people like Amnesty International, Hilary Benn in Parliament, lots of Liberal commentators are saying that Northern Irish people are racist, far right and extreme because we take exception to someone having their head almost severed off, you know, and this is how we're being treated. You can see here on screen, Jed's playing it. Look at this, Grantonio. You know, look at the power of the resource. Water cannon, all the police Land Rovers, all the armoured police, and you know, young lad. I think that's a wheelie bin on fire, by the way. God forbid a wheelie. How do you respond to that, Grantonio?
Yeah, like you said earlier.
The irony, David. Sorry, our wheelie bins here are black.
That's racist then. So
it
proves the point then we are racist. No, we're not. We got black wheelie bins. We're inclusive and diverse. Grantonio.
Why haven't they put the same resources into fighting these people, deterring these people from coming into the UK? I think the likes of Yvette Cooper, Hilary Benn, Sadiq Khan, they are my enemy. They are my enemy. They have purposely put my nieces in danger. They have purposely allowed thousands of women to be raped in Rotherham, Telford, Rochdale, where they have purposely invited people to come into our country and behead us or gouge our eyes out. It's not that I politically disagree with these people. It's not just that. These are my enemies, and I'm becoming far more bellicose about this. Go on, was somebody going to say something, Paddy?
I was just going to say that basically what you're all suffering from is German revenge. This whole thing was started by Angela Merkel, and this was her gift back to Europe for World War II.
She invited him. Well, it's interesting. I mean, look, if we are going to have a bit of a history lesson, I mean, people talk about this starting with Tony Blair, but I'm old enough to remember the Satanic Verses. I mean, that really should have been a wake-up call for
Salman Rushdie.
Salman Rushdie, indeed. Now, what was his crime? Oh, that's right. He wrote a very poor book. The Ayatollah put out a fatwa against him. He had to go into, I think still to this day, he has to have 24/7 protection.
Yes, he still has to be protected.
I remember this. And I was a very young boy at the time. I was about 9 or 10. But I remember the likes of conservative politicians wishing death upon Salman Rushdie, that prat Cat Stevens, or whatever he calls himself now, Muhammad Ali, whatever his bloody name is, calling for him to be killed on national television. I remember all of that. But it's the power of propaganda. The success of the propaganda of the past 30 years is they've managed to make people far more concerned about whether they're called the word racist or with whether they're concerned about their daughters being raped. I had a conversation with someone, I'm not going to say who, my dad, who was like, oh, what's the problem? It's only so many people, buddy. That's just fine. It's not your grandchildren who are being raped. But when they are, you'll change your tune.
That's absolutely right. Jed, I mean, you know, the problem is here that there is a massive propaganda effort to make us all feel guilty. In the aftermath of Henry Novak being, murdered, a statement allegedly came out from his family telling everyone to calm down. And then on Tuesday of this week, a statement came out from the family of Stephen Ogilvy, who was the man who had all the facial damage done, telling us to be calm. And I put it to you, Jed, that these statements are suggested by government nudge units, the sort of people we had to fight during COVID. And it's all about trying to diffuse a situation. I do not think that families in the aftermath of the loss of their son or in the savagery affecting their brother sit down and compose these kind of statements. What do you think, Jed?
I think you are spot on. I do think that this is a psyops on the families. Well, and it's not. We'll write you a statement, and we'll just make it sound just right for you. You know, the right sentiment. But what they're actually doing is silencing the families. They're silencing the anger that they have, because you can guarantee there is anger there, and not having all these people whose sons and daughters have had things done to them are all, well, we don't want violence from this. We don't want. It's not. You can. It's almost AI generated, isn't it? It's Chat GPT. Give me a statement for a grieving family. And that's what it comes across as. It's preordained. It's stamped out. They've got to. I know this is an audio show.
COVID. He's got long COVID. I told you about this. I warned you.
But it's almost like there's a book of them, and they'll select which one they want, and then they'll post that out. And the family are co-opted into this, saying, look, I think they're literally told, if you say anything bad, then the whole world's going to come crashing down, and it'll be your fault.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right.
I think that's the sort of conversations that are being had.
With grieving families. Do you know what it's like?
I wouldn't accept £1 billion from them to tell if they told me, but your son's had his eyes gouged out, you need to come out and make a statement. No.
Okay, Grant,
but they're more subtle. They're more subtle than that. They're more subtle.
So
it's not a money thing.
What about if 2 or 3 of them turn up and say, if you say anything that causes civil unrest, we will make your life hell. You will pay for all the damage.
Adrian? What would you say if that was your daughter? What would you tell them?
You know me by now. I would tell them all to go in. So I would.
There's your answer.
If I'd have been on that boy on GMTV this morning, they probably would have had to edit out a lot of things that I would have said.
Yeah.
To be really honest.
Can we also turn, Paddy, I'll come to you, actually. I'll come to you this one first, Paddy. Just shifting it a wee bit, but it's close enough. This guy who carried out this attempted decapitation, he got the bus from Dublin straight to Belfast. In February 2023, he claimed asylum. He was fast-tracked, and he was given 5 years to stay in the United Kingdom. Now, one of the things, Paddy, that demonstrates is, as I've been on a couple of shows earlier this week, and I've talked about the fact that there is no border between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic. Literally no border. So literally any migrant from anywhere in the world can come across that border. I think it's tomorrow, or in the next imminent anyway, Ireland's about to sign the EU Migration Pact, Paddy, which means that Brussels will allocate. Brussels will allocate how many migrants go to particular countries. So if things stay if there is no border in Northern Ireland, and Brussels allocate God knows how many migrants to the Irish Republic, they could all get the bus up or the train up to Belfast, get the ferry over to the Liverpool, and then boom, we've all got the problem. Paddy, I put it to you, we have to close the border.
I would close the border instantly, and I would even wait to see. I want to see if the IRA would get upset about it at this point.
Well, I mean, Who cares? Who gives a toss? Who cares?
Well, that's why the border doesn't exist. Let's be honest. That's why the border doesn't exist, because to
Well,
stop
that's
to stop the bombings, to stop the IRA's attacks, and that's why the border is not there. And we all know that, no matter how much you want to dance around it. So if the IRAs that become this toothless, that they've allowed Ireland, because Northern Ireland it's Ireland, even though it's England, it's Ireland. If they've allowed this to take place, their whole fight was the invasion of the Brits controlling Ireland. They have no problem with the Sudanese and the other African people controlling Ireland. This is, nothing has shown a greater defeat than the militants have been totally defanged, and now they've been betrayed by their own political wing. But close the damn border. This is what's there to be afraid of.
Yeah, Jed, what do you think? I mean, obviously you're well aware of the border, but actually it's an invisible border. It's not a border. There's no border.
It's not
checks.
a border, David. That's the point. It's not a border. It
Yeah,
might be a border on a map.
Yeah.
It's certainly not a border. It was
No.
a border when I was last there.
Yeah.
Because there were border checks. There were border guards. Yeah, there were Sangas everywhere. There was helicopters going from location to location. I know I was on them.
Yeah.
Hire the migrants to build a wall.
On the border, and there is no physical barrier. What you've got is a line on a piece of paper. That's what you've got.
But that means, Jed, that you guys, for example, where you live, Jed, they could get the ferry across to Liverpool and head up north, to you. They could head across to Manchester. They could go to London, Birmingham, or wherever. They could go wherever they want. There's nothing. The point
There is no border.
There is no border.
I think that was part of the keeping Northern Ireland in where it was in, so they could have that frictionless border between the Republic and the North, so people could be funneled through and back into the UK.
And that's a problem. So Adrian, I think you want to come in there.
It was just laughing about it all, like the border. They used the border to escape and evade British government, the armed forces, to smuggle fuel, and now they don't care that it's wide open. Do you know what I mean? When they used it for their own protection for years to get away, and now they're just willing to let anybody come in.
Well, can I make the point? Sorry, Adrian.
Sorry.
Go on, carry on.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'll come back in a second.
Well, theoretically, I don't mind having no border between us and the Republic of Ireland. Theoretically, I kind of consider them to be my cousins in a way. But I don't think we have it's not a border with the Republic of Ireland.
No,
it's a border with the European Union.
Also true.
Important distinction there.
Yeah, well, that's actually a very good point. It is an EU border, and part of Boris Johnson's botched deal was to ensure that border stayed wide open. And now all of a sudden we realise what that means is that Sudanese head choppers get to Belfast, no problem.
It's not a border, David. It can't be a border if there's nothing there to board to guard against.
Don't disagree.
It's a line on the map.
Yeah, that's a line on the map, but it means, because it's not a border, it means that we're wide open. So actually, the UK is quite. You're wide open. You're wide open on the west here on the island of Ireland, just like you're wide open on the southern border. Oh, your own down the south of England. So England is actually wide open. This is the seriousness of the situation. I think. Antonio, come on. Sorry.
Yeah, part of me wonders, that guy that I was talking about from Ardoyne, I wonder how much of a community leader he is, if you know that, would understand what that euphemism means.
Yeah.
I wonder if anybody will be speaking to him about that, because he went on national TV and said this. But part of me also wonders, we all don't believe that the weapons were all given in. There's bound to be separate caches hidden all over the Republic in places. Are they still available? Because at some point, surely some of those ex-people who went to prison for their beliefs, surely they're going to rise up at some point. Because, and I've said this before, at what point do they sit back and go, I spent 30 years in prison for what? Because this is...
Because, Adrian, there are men in their 60s and 70s now, that's why. That's why.
Yeah, but you know yourself.
Hey.
I know, Paddy, I'm being disrespectful.
That hatred gets passed down though through the generations. It doesn't just sort of stop with the grandfather. It gets passed down to the son, the grandkids, etc.
Yeah. No, it's true enough. Paddy, you want to jump in there? Ooh,
I was just going to say, don't ever underestimate a 60 or 70-year-old with the proper equipment in his hand.
That's true. Has Grantonio left the building? I just realised. I think he's.
Yeah, he's dropped off for some reason.
What did you say to offend Grantonio, Jed?
And it's probably Keir Starmer's not happy because, okay, I want to move it on another wee bit now because, again, in the aftermath of all of this, and it's truly shocking, Liz Kendall, who's the technologies minister, has said that the government's so upset about all of what we've seen this last few days is they're going to leap into action. Next week, they're going to amend the Online Safety Act to ensure that in critical moments, which is a very vague expression, in critical moments, social media will be required to take things down straight away. In other words, it's a long-winded way of her saying that they're not going to allow what happened on Tuesday morning, Adrian, to happen again. They're going to force, if they can, X and Elon to stop us sharing stuff and speaking out. That's the government response to this. They don't want to stop the head chopping. They want to stop the conversations about the head stopping.
Do you know what? Elon Musk is rich enough to buy Northern Ireland, so I hope he does. But the funny thing
I've invited him over, Adrian.
The funny thing would be if Elon says, right, see if that's the way you want to do it, I'm just going to ban all your government accounts. I'm going to ban all your personal accounts. You'll not be able to spout your propaganda anymore. So ban Keir Starmer, ban the Labour Party, ban them all from X so they can't put any messages out to try and counter the narrative. You know, two can play at that game very, very easily. And I'm sure if they'd done that, the US would then have sanctions against the government. So then ban them from Rumble, ban them from all the other platforms. You know, two can play at this game.
Well, actually, just on that, I'll come to you in a second, Antonio. But Paddy, just to what Adrian said there, I believe that if the UK government does try to ban X, which I think is a possibility, a definite possibility, the response from Donald Trump's regime would, I think, be so powerful that he said if you do.
He already said you get you shut down X, you're getting tariffed out your ass.
Yeah, thank God for Trump. I mean, I know I criticize him sometimes, Paddy, but if it wasn't for him and Elon Musk, we wouldn't.
All people deserve criticisms. All leaders deserve criticism. Trump deserves this thing with Iran's taking way too long, but it's a slow. It's like an explosion on a dam. It's a slow moving disaster.
He told us yesterday, Paddy, that they were taking millions of barrels of oil out of Iran. Brilliant.
Yeah, but then in the past couple of hours, he said he's called off the military action, Adrian. But I don't want to get distracted into the round.
Till next week.
Oh yeah, don't worry, Paddy, it'll be coming. But so our ability. So this government is responding to these events by figuring out ways to stop us talking, Grantonio, about these events, and that's naked authoritarianism. That's like North Korean level grade censorship, and it's all that Starmer knows how to do, Antonio.
Yeah, very rare for me that the battery ran out on my phone as we were chatting. That doesn't happen very often. So I think I've missed. Well, obviously we're talking about censorship. I was going to make the point, and I don't know if you've already made it, that if Trump wasn't in power, if it was a Democrat. I mean, do you remember all this stuff about they've tried to ban certain sites and like pornography and things like that, and people have got around it by using VPNs and whatnot. I can imagine the Democrats doing something very, very similar in the United States of America if and when they get power. So yeah, thank heavens that they've not got in power, because that would embolden the likes of Keir Starmer to carry out that level of censorship.
Yeah, but did you see that Starmer's also considering banning VPN? Well, not banning VPNs, but if you live in the UK and if you want to use a VPN, you will have to provide documented proof of your age. Did you see that?
Right, which is another way of saying we don't want you to use it, and we will try to stop you.
100%,
from using it. This is a worrying time we're in. This is a really worrying time where the government the authorities are trying to kill us, and they don't want us. Do you remember? They don't want us talking about it. Do you remember they closed down the pubs during lockdown because they didn't want us. They didn't want any resistance to it. That's where people would meet.
You see, Grantonio, where we are tonight is a digital pub. It's like we're sitting around the pub and we're chatting, and you know, and that's healthy. But government fears that. Jed, this government doesn't want the likes of us here and all the folks listening. They do not want these conversations to be heard.
No, they don't, and that's why they're using government censorship to shut the conversation down. Because we used to have these conversations in the working men's clubs and pubs, didn't we? And where have they gone? They've been taxed out of oblivion, out of existence.
Deliberately, I would say.
Yeah, but you know, the public square now is online. It's social media, and this is why there were, as we said earlier, there were more outraged about the video being up than the act itself.
Yeah,
and it was, you know, how many times did people like, not Arlene Foster, the Sinn Féin woman,
Michelle O'Neill.
Michelle O'Neill. How many times did she say, "You shouldn't be watching this. I don't want you to watch this. We don't want you to watch this." And that's it. They don't want us to see what is not just what's happening in our own street. We can see that, but they don't want you to see that that's being replicated across the country. It's being replicated in every street across the country. Because if everybody goes, hang on, this is not just me. Right. I know, for example, there's somebody potentially listening tonight who thinks like we think. And it was only recently they discovered what we do on Thursdays with this show and said, I didn't know that people thought like I did. And that's what they're trying to stop. They're trying to stop people going, he thinks like I think. He thinks it's wrong too. And so does she, and so do they, and so does everybody. That's what they're trying to stop, because once everybody realizes and everybody can get together to go, this is not right, that's when the power goes. So as long as they can stop it, and they'll stop it by 24-hour courts, as they did for Southport.
Yeah, they're doing
they'll
already.
stop it with bans on right-wing commentators. They'll stop it by, you know, age verification and stuff like that for social media, so on and so forth, because they just cannot have the truth coming out that what they've imposed on us for the last 30 years is a disaster.
So in all that we've seen here in the last 72 hours, and all the things that we've heard about banning VPNs and things like that, and tougher online sanctions for us, the ordinary people, how long do you reckon before the rest of the UK rises up and says, enough is enough, this government has to go, this political class has to go? You've heard me, anybody that listens to this show for a long time has heard me sort of tongue-in-cheek saying about mass decapitations, and I know that's quite crass considering what happened the other night. But at what point, or what do you think it's going to take for us to get to that point as a country and say enough is enough? Because it's just going to be more and more and more tougher sanctions on us until we do stand up as a nation and go, it's not happening anymore.
Sorry, but just on that point, and Grantionio, you can come in. One of the things that it sort of impressed me this week is that a lot of younger people, dare I say, than all of us on the stream, and that includes even youngsters like you, Grantonio, the really young ones, they are not, first of all, they completely ignore mainstream media. They're not paying any attention to what the BBC or Sky or anyone says, right? That's the first thing. Secondly, even platforms like this, they're not necessarily living that time what they're living their life on. They have their own channels and do their own thing. Adrian, you said they've been very savvy about, you know, when they go to these protests, they cover their faces so that they're not digitally tracked, and they don't even bring their phones. And one of the things that you guys may not notice, but one of the reasons you haven't seen as much coverage of some of the action, so to speak, is because the people doing it have made it clear to the journalists, see if you cover this, you're going to have a real problem, and that's a fact.
Journalists were actually having their phones scrolled through the other day to make sure that they didn't have pictures of people. And
that's right. But you're talking about Northern Ireland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Sky News, the guy was actually told to go away, or he was going to get kneecapped.
Was that the guy with the military helmet on?
No.
Did you see him, Grantonio? Well,
did,
yeah,
I did.
no one fought harder than him, eh?
But Adrian's original question was, what would it take for the English,
Yeah.
the Welsh, the Scots to rise up? Now, I started this by talking about the distinction between being told about an atrocity and actually seeing it. I'm going to say something really grim. I think it would take footage of a little boy or a little girl being mauled to death, because we've had little children being stabbed, being decapitated, being whatever, nothing. And I do wonder, and I don't want that to, obviously I don't want that to happen, but it's just hard to awaken the lion, it would seem. I just don't know what it's going to be. And I hope I'm wrong. I desperately hope that I'm wrong. Go on, David.
I think the thing about history, and Paddy, you'd maybe agree with this, sometimes history pivots on actually marginal things, not big things. You know, it just takes sometimes the marginal thing, Paddy, and everything then kicks off around it. I mean, to me, that's I see broad sweep of history like that. It's not grand things; it can be small things. It might be like Antonio was saying, Paddy.
It's the straw that breaks the camel's back. That's where the expression comes from. It's the accumulation of all the atrocities, and then that one thing that triggers it. This is beginning to look like the point. I think maybe if it was an adolescent, it would already have been that straw. But I think this has come darn close. I mean, it's ghastly, but that's what it takes sometimes.
I don't know. So there was an incident in Republic of Ireland last year, and I think the guy's been up in court recently, where an Algerian stabbed 3 young children in the street. And
was there film though? Was there film?
Filmed, Adrian. That was the point.
I don't think so. I don't remember seeing any.
Do you appreciate the distinction between the visceral feeling you would get from seeing such a thing and being told about it? I mean, it seems abstract and it seems strange. Why should they be any different? It's the exact same act, but I just wonder if the visual impact of this man having his eyes gouged out last night, the night before, is what's created this uprising, if you want to call it uprising. Might be too strong a word. Protests in Northern Ireland.
Well, isn't that proof of that, Grantonio, the fact that Keir Starmer, he's making a lot of noises about X and social media, but it's X he means, and he's spoken out against Elon Musk. I thought if Elon Musk arrived in the UK tomorrow, I think he'd be arrested.
He'd be arrested. I'm sorry to hijack your show that I seem to do this every week. Again, what do you think the repercussions of this on Makersfield are going to be? I'm just intrigued by that, and that's probably something we'd probably best discuss next week. But it's been in the back of my head. Will this swing things in the way of restore or the way in reform? I don't know. Does anybody have an opinion on that?
Jed, do you want to have a jump into that one?
See, that's difficult because, again, to use it as a campaigning thing to win a vote, I don't think would wash with most people.
Yes,
I also think that the people there, the politicians there, I think are keeping well away from it. I've not seen any statements or anything like that from the relevant candidates, because the second you make a statement about it, you're taken aside, and I don't think they wish to do that. They may talk about immigration more broadly, but I don't think if this came up, I think they would just fall behind like a lot of the media done, like Hilary Benner earlier on, trying to fall behind the fact that we can't comment on this because it's an ongoing.
Jed, Nigel Farage was asked about this morning. I heard him being asked about it, and I thought he spoke really well. And what he said was that Makerfield has had significant numbers of migrants, housed in that area. Nobody wants them, but that's what's happened. So, Grantonio and Jed, I think it may have some kind of an impact. We'll know next week anyway. Like, we don't have to wait that long. Actually, Grantonio, do you think it would have Adrian, do you think it would have an effect on Makerfield? Because it's a fair enough question Grantonio asks.
It's possible. It's possible, but I would like to know how many English people are really sitting at home going, God, I'm so proud of those guys from Northern Ireland. I wish we would do that here. Because I don't know if that spirit's within them. I really, really don't. And
it needs a binding force. It needs a figurehead, someone to organise this.
And it's
someone
all right
charismatic.
It's all right sitting at home being a keyboard warrior, and it's easy to do things and say things when you're hiding behind a screen. But they actually get out and do things. I don't know. We've seen like the turnout for a lot of elections has been dropping significantly over the years. So I don't know if it will change. I would like to think that the majority of normal, sensible people will be sitting at home absolutely horrified, going, I need to do something. I need to turn up and vote because my vote will help change something. But I don't know if they've got the will for it.
Of course, the thing is, if it's a Burnham victory, Andy, as Nigel Farage said this morning, Andy Burnham has never given any indication of being anything other than pro-open borders, pro-welcoming migrants. So, this is going to be, that's why, Jed, we talked about.
But at least he understands our frustrations.
Here.
You get all the best lines going to. He does. I don't. He is the king of the north. But I mean, yeah, we'll see next week in that one. Oh, by the way, we're going to come to the end of the show, but just for extra laughs, because it was a serious, obvious topic. But did you see in the last couple of hours, 4 or 5 hours, that the Defence Secretary in the UK, a guy called John Healey, he's resigned because he doesn't believe that the Prime Minister is prepared to support defence. And in the past hour or so, I see that the Armed Forces Minister, a guy called Al Cairns, he's resigned because he doesn't think that. So, we've got a Prime Minister whose ministers themselves are resigning from his government today because they don't believe he's going to provide the necessary funds to defend our country. So what does that make you guys think? Who wants to go first in that one?
They can't. They can't provide the necessary funds because they've taxed us to oblivion already. So where is it? And the reason they've taxed us to oblivion is not to pay for defence or anything.
No, that's right, yeah.
Anything like that. It's one, to pay the welfare bill, and two, to pay the legal and illegal migration bill. And you just can't keep dipping into the working class people's pockets because there is nothing left to dip into. It is gone. And therefore, I get what they're saying. I mean, a communist saying you need to spend more money on defence. But I see what they're saying, and I agree with them in the sentiment that we do need to spend more on defence. But the bottom line is there is no money left because of what Rees have done. What she has done is give every penny. I mean, look at the pay rise the doctors got as soon as Labour got in. And did they come back for more? Absolutely. There was no, you can't come back for the next 5 years or anything like that. No, you can come back tomorrow if you like, and you can ask us for more money and go out on strike. You look at the welfare bill. The welfare bill at the moment it costs us more than we bring in taxation.
It's more than the tax.
Right, yeah. That is the case. How can we afford it?
We can't. That's why the country will go bust, as it always does under Labour. Adrian?
I don't want to talk about defence spending. I know we're close to the end of time, so I just want to read something else out that I seen earlier on that I thought was very good. It said, how many immigrants have been beheaded so far? How many have been stabbed 42 times? How many have been raped? How many have had their eyes gouged out? We're not the same. And even when we're pushed way past our limits, we're not the same. So when anybody fires at you, you're a racist, use that kind of comment at them. We're not
Martin
racist.
Luther King as well, Adrian?
No, fortunately not. I don't know who this was. But it's a really good point. We're not the same. And we've seen what happens when white people get angry. We created an atom bomb that killed, 200,000 people in one go. And we've done it twice in the week for a bit of crack,
Okay, well, Yeah, well, we'll not go to Hiroshima and
no,
Japan.
but do you understand what I mean? Like, white people do have a sense about them. As Europeans, we fought for hundreds of years amongst each other.
Yeah.
But we're being labelled racist and all these bad names, but we're not stabbing people. We're not gouging eyes out. We're not doing that.
No.
We are being violent on the streets. And again, as Martin Luther King said, riot is the voice of the unheard.
Just as a point, and maybe it's good to end on a negative note here. Have you noticed that these aren't about killing their opponents? It's about the sheer mutilation, the sheer brutality of it. I mean, these guys could just stab individuals in the street and kill them or shoot them or whatever. But no, it's the beheading, it's the eye gouging, it's brutal. It's almost symbolic in a way that it's not just about a death count. Does that make sense?
Oh, it absolutely does, yeah. And don't forget, this guy came from Khartoum in Sudan. And in Sudan, Antonio, head chopping's not that unusual. Do you know what I mean? That's why, when we say import the third world, become the third world, well, that's literally the case. It is literally the case.
It's an alien culture.
And Paddy, we started the
100%.
show.
Full circle. We've come full circle. It's an alien culture that's there.
Well, listen, I just want to say to everyone, we've reached the allocated time. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If you do and you want to support the show, please consider buying me a coffee. There is a link below. You can go and I want to thank those who have done that. Much appreciated to keep us going. Next week, all things being equal, we're going to be doing this on the day of the Makerfield by-election, so I'm sure we will talk about that. However, between now and then, Northern Ireland is things are still raging here, so who knows where this one's going to go. But I want to thank you all on all the different platforms for staying with myself, with Jed, Adrian, Antonio, Paddy. Thank you all so much for being here. And as I said, there will be a dearth in podcasts in the next couple of days because I'm not going to be here, but there'll still be some social media stuff coming out, but just to let you know. And Paddy, I shall report back on my 46th occasion going to see Elvis Costello on Saturday night. So
we expect a good report too.
I'm hoping so as well, although you never know. When people get old, their voices start to go, Paddy, and that is my big concern.
Some voices are immortal, David. Tell them.
And the review of Birmingham City Centre as well would be interesting.
Well, yeah, there might be a short live stream or two. I don't know if I'll be able to resist not doing that, Antonio, because we've talked about it plenty. And I've heard certain comments, so we'll see. Anyway, folks, look, thanks everybody for sticking with us this night. And we'll, as I said, we will be back, as they say. Thank you all and good night.